So, hi everyone, and this is Bharat here, and welcome to Gundan's Travel Diary. And this is my very first video actually. இந்த வீடியோ எதுக்காக போட்டிருக்கேன் அப்படின்னா நிறைய ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் கனடால இருந்து இந்தியாவுக்கு வெக்கேஷனுக்கோ இல்லை மெடிக்கல் எமர்ஜென்சிஸ் ஒரு புது ஸ்டடி பெர்மிட் வாங்கிட்டு அவங்களால திருப்பி கனடாக்கு போக முடியாமல் ஒரு சுச்சுவேஷனில் அங்கே இருக்காங்க. So I just wanted to make this video in English so that it helps everybody, whether irrespective of the geography or of the students. Apart from that, in this video, you'll be seeing all the required documents for boarding flight towards Serbia and required documents for carrying on your journey from Serbia to Montreal, and also what are the immigration stuffs and what are the questions were asked to me or either to my friend. So all these stuffs. Okay, so let's jump in directly. I don't want to while away your time. It's going to be just crisp, short, clear, and very informative. So let's start. First, where I began this process is I just was searching for countries where the visa was available for, or visa where visas were issued for Indian passport holders. In that way, I got only three options. One was Egypt, and the other two options were Ethiopia and Belgrade. That's Serbia. I mean. Why I didn't choose Ethiopia was unfortunately I wasn't able to travel on a planned itinerary, and currently the Ethiopia is not accepting any international travelers due to some internal issues going on. So the only option remained was Serbia, and the advantage towards Serbia is an Indian passport holder doesn't need a visa to travel. So it's an honorable visa, and it's actually not a visa. They just stamp in arrival. Seal on your passport. Okay, to start with, first I booked my flight tickets, and my flight tickets were from Bangalore to Belgrade. It was having a transit at Germany, and the second flight was between Belgrade and Montreal. It had a transit at Istanbul. So this booking was made by myself, and it costed around 82,000 in total. It was 40,000 for the first flight and 42,000 for the second flight. And as you see, the first flight was with Lufthansa, and the second flight which I booked is for with Turkish Airlines. So what I suggest is you needn't follow the same itinerary which I did, but you could also choose a your own. You can make your own itinerary, but I just wanted to give you a small idea. Please do choose a wise date combination. For example, my itinerary was I traveled from Bangalore to Serbia on 20th. I mean 20th early morning. I had my flight from Bangalore, and I reached on 20th night, around 11:30 p.m. at Serbia. So I didn't have any testing centers open. So what I did was I just went for testing the next day morning, and you do have some process which I will be explaining. So after doing a test, I got my test results on the same day evening, and it was fortunately negative. And I had another day. I just went around Belgrade, the old Belgrade and the new Belgrade area, and you do have a good Indian restaurant if you wanna have, and the Serbian foods are not activating our taste buds actually. Okay, so coming back to the topic, okay, we spoke about the flight, and why is that so? Is you should at least have one day in between your flights, because I'm not sure whether the testing report which is provided at the airport is like an RT-PCR test or a rapid RT-PCR test. You would have heard about a test report which is being issued at 2 hours. So it is again inside the departure section, where you should have a flight to move inside. You'll be at the arrival section when you arrive at Serbia, so you cannot just immediately take a test at the airport as soon as you arrive. So where I got tested is at Torlak Institute, and Torlak Institute issues your report as soon as possible in Serbia, because all in the entire Belgrade, wherever you give your sample, it'll be like tested at the Torlak Institute of Virology. So I would always say make a booking at Torlak Institute. It is like an RT-PCR. They'll be giving you two certificates. One is like a native certificate, which will obviously which is obviously same as in our country, and the second one would be like a green certificate, which is like an IATA pass, with which you can, which means it's like recognized by the airport authorities. So it'll cost you around like 90 euros, or in dinars it's around like 9,000 dinars. And it is very obvious that we have to pay in dinars, and you have to choose a post office or a bank, which is open from 8 o'clock in the morning to 6 o'clock in the evening. So you can pay anywhere at any post office or the bank. You could just ask your taxi driver, they'll be driving you to a post office where you can just make a payment with a payment slip which you receive while you book your COVID test. So you would wonder, where could I book it? So you can find at the description. I have provided the link, and you can use that particular description for booking your COVID test at Serbia. Okay. Before that, like before arriving here, you would need to book an hotel at Serbia, which should accommodate you for the days which you reside in Serbia. Actually, for in my case, I resided here for 3 nights, the Sunday night, Monday night, and the Tuesday night. So it you should be like booking. I should have a booking for the entire 3 night. There should be a hotel who's ready to accommodate me. And the second important thing is like you cannot change Serbian dinars directly at India, because the availability of bills are really low, and you won't find any in the current situation. So it is recommended that you have to change euros. So the immigration prospect is like you have to have $50 per day. I mean, I'm sorry, it's 50 euros per day. So you should have 50 euros per day. And so in my case, I'm staying here for 3 days, so I should be having at least 150 euros for staying at Serbia. If you ask whether it was asked at the immigration or not, like for me, they asked me if I have sufficient funds. That's 150 euros. But for my friend, they never inquired about it at the Indian immigration. So I mean Indian immigration. So it depends on the immigration officer again in this case. So the mandatory stuffs which you should do is you have to have a flight ticket to Serbia, obvious, and the second one is like an onward flight ticket, um, or you should have a return flight ticket to India. In our case, it's an onward flight ticket, and in the scenario if it's like an onward flight ticket, you should also have a valid visa. In my case, I had student visa, TRV, which was stamped on my passport. And the next thing is like you have to do the euro exchange, which you could do, and the hotel booking I did it through Expedia. And it's like you can pay later. So in the scenario, if you're getting if your itinerary is getting cancelled due to your COVID test or some unavoidable circumstances, then you can just like cancel your booking, I mean the hotel booking, so that like you're not deducted with any kind of money, literally. So the next thing is like the COVID test, which you're gonna book at with a description which is available at the description. So this is it, which you have to do before starting your trip to Serbia, and these are the things which you should do online. And in the next slide, like we're gonna see what are the documents required. You need a valid passport, and I don't have much to say about anything about it. And the next thing what you need is like the visa. The visa requirements, you don't have any visa for Serbia, as I said earlier, and you should have your student visa, that's the TRV, for your free pass at the immigration. Because like in Serbian immigration, when they see your Canadian visa, they don't speak anything. They just ask like in my case, I was a student, so they asked me what was I studying, so and where was I studying. I just like replied to those two answers. They just like stamp, boom, we entered into Serbia. And it was just like a 2-minute process actually. And it's very obvious, you need your COVID-19 test result, and it should be a negative test result. um, and very important thing, when you're traveling towards Serbia, it should fall under a 48-hour window. What does it mean is like in case, just assume like I'm taking my test by 9 a.m. in the morning, and I'm getting my report at 3 p.m. That's 6 hours after my sample was collected. Um, which means the 3 p.m. Is the test report time. So the test reported time should be less than 48 hours, past 48 hours when you arrive at Serbia. Hope I'm clear. So, which means like it is very easy to make this calculation. You just calculate the test report time plus the time required to travel to your airport, and plus your flight duration. In my scenario, I had a flight at 3 a.m. for the next day, and I got my test results at 3 p.m. on the previous day. That's the day one. So I had 12 hours to flight and 24 hours of flight. So it's 36 hours. On arrival, even if there is some lags and delays and stuff, if it's like 1 hour till immigration, then it's going to be just 37 hours. So when you arrive at the immigration counter at Serbia, your test results should be less than 48 hours old. So please do have the 48 hours window in the mind, because I did have a few co-passengers who were Tamil passengers from Bangalore, and they weren't allowed to board the plane as they did have a negative test result, but it wasn't inside the 48 hours window. So they weren't allowed to board the flight, and obviously they didn't receive their boarding pass. And as I said, like the air tickets, it's very important. You have an onward ticket, and it's pretty obvious that you need an air ticket from India to Serbia to travel to Serbia. And the hotel bookings, like as I said, like the Serbian hotel booking is checked at the boarding counter where the boarding pass is issued, as well. I mean the airline counter, and then in the immigration they do ask for the stay proof at Serbia in the Indian immigration. And in the next part, when you're traveling from Serbia to Montreal, they'll be asking you for the hotel quarantine proof. As of now, the hotel quarantine is mandatory. And in the next step, like we have to provide a proof of quarantine, like it could be your Quebec driving license in my scenario, or it could be your a lease copy, or it could even be your credit card statement. So again, it's very important that you can have one or two documents from the things which are listed here. And if you're your new arrival to Canada and you don't have a house with a lease, or you don't have any address proofs, you can have your Airbnb booking or booking.com booking reference for the next few days. I mean, like for the next 14 days at least, so that like you can prove them that you're being isolated during the quarantine process. So to take forward, if you're a student, I would recommend you to book through Lufthansa. If you're booking through Lufthansa, then you have to go with the Let's Different Fly scheme. It's going to provide you with two check-in bags. In the other case, under the economy class, you would be only allowed to carry one luggage. So again, the price is going to be the same, but you get a concession as a student where you can carry an extra baggage, the check-in baggage. And the next thing is like the euros. As I said, like you need $50, 50 euros per day for the stay at Serbia. And if you're a student, and it is very important that you have a class schedule for the month of July or August or even September, you should have, and you should be an active student in a college or university for clearing the immigration at Canadian border. I mean the port of entry, wherever it is. So this is like a mandated requirement, because only the active students of any university or college does fall under the essential category, and only they are allowed to cross the border. I mean your immigration is getting clear. And the next thing is like okay, there are cases where we would have tested positive in a time window of like 14 and 90 days. In that scenarios, it is recommended that you carry your recovery report with you. And it is not like really helpful at your Serbian immigration or the Indian immigration, as well when while you're boarding your flight towards Canada, because you would be obviously having your negative test results from India, which is helpful for the Serbian immigration. As well, you would have a negative test result from Serbia for immigrating from Serbia towards Canada. But why do you need this? Is like this might have perks depending on your immigration officer. You might be allowed to skip your uh, on arrival COVID test as well the day 8 COVID test because you have recovered from COVID at the window of 14 and 90 days. So again, like it's purely depended on your immigration officer. It depends on your immigration officer. So it varies from person to person. Certain persons have skipped their hotel quarantine as they had a recovery report, as the Arrivecan app says. On the other hand, like there are persons who have not allowed to skip their hotel quarantine just because they were recovered. So depending on the immigration officer, it varies. In the scenario, if you have your proof of vaccination, it is very important for you to carry that. Like currently, you don't have any perks, but in future cases, maybe after the announcement on July 5th, you might have certain relaxations for the vaccinated travelers. I mean, the fully vaccinated travelers, where the international students are also going to be a part of that cadre. So currently, as of this date, we don't have any updates. So when you're traveling from India to Canada in next 40 days through an indirect route, so you should obviously have all these stuffs ready. Your proof of vaccination is not supportive document literally. And to speak about the Can, like I can say certain things which are important for the Canadian immigration in my next video, where there will be again other list of documents which is required for the Canadian immigration when I get through it, which would be obviously by tomorrow evening. So I'm waiting for my flight towards Canada at Serbia. So this video I think this is pretty clear about the documents which you ought to gather before your flight. And once you arrive, there are certain procedures to be handled, like the arrive can and the negative test results which you receive at Serbia. And there are also other boarding requirements, and I'm going to list those things in a different video which would be posted in 2 days. So it's my duty to say the requirements are subject to change. This situation is like clearly unprecedented. So I request you people to always verify the list of documents once you have gathered with the IATA website, which is an recognized website internationally, and it would say you what are the documents required and what are the documents optional. And it also says like whether certain documents are not mandatory. So that is it from my end for now. So do subscribe for this channel and wait for the second video to be uploaded, which would be in 2 days. And see you all then as soon as I reach Montreal. Hopefully the immigration goes smooth. So thank you so much. And there are links at the description where you need to book your COVID test at Serbia. And if you have any queries or if you have any doubts about the process till the process which I've faced to date till now, so you can feel free to comment on this video so that like I could give you a response once I'm able to, as early as possible. Thank you so much, guys. See you all in my next video.